Welcome. We're a little short on our numbers, but we'll do what we can with what we got. We appreciate you guys being here. We're going to talk a little bit about self-defense today. I've got a couple of people to visit with you. Ken Kennedy is our chief of the Missouri Southern Police Force here on campus, and he's going to visit with you about a class or program that he offers, and then talk a little bit about how to use MACE. And then Jim Riggs is the director of the admissions department at Crowder College, and the Osho is going to visit with you about some tips on self-defense and some things that you can do and avoid, and I don't want to steal all of his thunder, so first I'll turn it over to Ken for about 10-15 minutes, and then we'll have Jim step in. So thank you guys for coming. How do you get in front of the camera?
Get in front of the camera? I was afraid you'd say that. All right. Well, hi. My name's Ken Kennedy, and it takes me about 10 minutes to introduce myself, and then the rest of the time we'll talk about OC spray. No, I'm just kidding. But I will introduce myself a little bit. I started at the Joplin Police Department, and I worked there 22 years. I retired from there as the commander of the Professional Standards Division. And there I was a commander of the SWAT team, and I did news media and grants and training and things like that at the police department. All that experience helped me here at Missouri Southern. As you probably know, in 2008 we began a police department here on campus, and we've got 7 full-time police officers, 6 reserve police officers, and we are here to make sure you're safe while you're at Missouri Southern. So, having said that, I, back in '95, realized that probably the most problematic situation that we have on college campuses today involves sexual assault of female students. In fact, 1 out of every 4 female students can expect to be sexually assaulted by the time she graduates from college. And it seems like an astronomical number, but you have to remember that 95% of all sexual assaults are not reported. So each semester we may get 2 to 4 that we find out about, and very few of those even are reported to us to investigate. So it's one of the really serious problems that we have on college campuses, and we wanted to be proactive about that. So in '95 I took the training in Johnson City, Tennessee, and learned how to be an instructor for the RAD company. This is one of the largest women's self-defense organizations in the world, and in Canada. They're also there. What's good about the RAD program is it's a return for free policy. Even if you had to pay for it, which I'll talk to you about in a minute about how we're going to do that here at Missouri Southern in the fall. But even if you had to pay for a class, you can return for free as like a refresher course, right? Or if you went to Missouri University or UMKC, whatever, and you took the RAD training as a female, and sorry guys, this doesn't apply to men at all, but you may have a girlfriend you want to go through the class or something, but you can also return to another university and go through, return and to that class and take it for free. And I've taught 28 classes here at Missouri Southern, right across the street at the Criminal Justice Building. 28 classes, so hundreds of girls have gone through the training here at Missouri Southern, and I feel pretty good about that, about the safety of those students. In the fall though, because of a lot of the students would ask me if I would change this into a 4-credit class. They said I'd take it more seriously, I would be there every time, it would be actually working toward something, toward hours I need to graduate. So I did that, and in July, I'm going to Norfolk, Virginia to get trained to do not only basic RAD, but advanced RAD, and the weapons option as well. Weapons option being something I'm going to talk about a little bit today. It'll be on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and it will be a regular 4-credit class in the kinesiology program, and it will go on for a semester. And so you will not only get what the girls have gone through before and gotten, you'll get the advanced stuff and you'll get the weapons stuff too. So I think it's going to be something that fills up quickly, and it's going to be a pretty popular class. because my class for free was always very popular with everyone. So I'm looking forward to that. In RAD, you're going to learn how to avoid risky situations, as our second speaker will talk about here in a minute. You'll learn the red flags that the guy you're with is a sexual predator, right? And you're also going to learn, if someone does attack you, how to fight back, blocks, punches, kicks, how to break holds, and then on the last night of this class that I've taught, I put on this padded red man suit and I let the girls beat me up, basically. And
That's why you don't need guys in it.
And I don't let any guys in the class, and that's a good point. I've had some people complain about that. Some guys literally would complain, hey, I want a free self-defense class too. And I think we can justify the fact that more girls are assaulted in this way than guys. And it also meets the Title IX criteria for you can separate girls and boys, men and women, in situations where it involves physical contact, and that's completely allowable. So if someone were to sue me for that, they would not win. Anyway, we have a lot of fun in the class, so if you or someone you know wants to take the class, be sure and let them know about it. They can sign up through the kinesiology program in the fall for that class, and I'm excited about going to the beach in the summer for the training, actually. So, just a couple of minutes, because I know our next speaker will talk about this as well, but women need to realize that there are certain ways that they put themselves in real danger. Getting in a car with some guy that they don't know well, going to parties where they have, the feed trough type thing, where you have the jungle juice in the cooler, those kinds of things. Accepting open container drinks. They used to be called date rape drugs. We call them date poison drugs now because we don't like the connotation that date rape lessens the severity of a sexual assault. So we don't call it that anymore. But I talk to the girls about, just don't make yourself vulnerable, right, to a sexual assault. I used to do a 1-hour presentation on just those drugs, and I could give the girls a guarantee. I guarantee you 100% that I have a prescription for you that will make sure you never, ever are sexually assaulted. And their eyes would get big, and they'd be like, really? That's pretty good. Take your parents on every date. And they would all be like, oh, like that's not a viable option. I don't know. I've got 3 girls, and it worked for me. I would... Some of you will be parents and maybe parents right now, but my girls are always like, I want to go to this party tonight. Okay, great. You can go to all the parties you want. I'm going to go meet the parents, make sure it's all set up properly, that there's plenty of adult supervision, and never mind every time, right? Because that's just not the way things are. But anyway, it's a good idea to do that. Anyway, back to open containers or parties. I make the girls who go to my class basically promise me that if they're going to one of those parties, and you know what kind of parties I'm talking about, that they make a pact with the girls that they're going with, that us 3 or 4 girls are going here, we're all going to leave together, okay? No one's going to get intoxicated really quickly and then 2 guys are taking them out the door saying, we'll get her home, don't worry, right? Because the sexual assault is about to occur with that girl. Rohypnol is a drug that basically just turns off the recorder on the mind so that you will not recall anything that's happened for the last 12 hours. And the person will, after 1 drink, seem extremely intoxicated when actually they're drugged. And that does happen. Happens quite frequently. In Springfield, their college there, they have them all the time, and also in Tulsa. So we're kind of in the middle of that. While it's not real prevalent here, we know that it is here, obviously. So that's one thing you watch out for. Never accept an open container at one of those parties. Never lay a drink down and go off and dance or do whatever and then come back and pick up that drink because it might be tainted. So be very, very careful. I only know one situation in Joplin where that really happened, and a guy gave it to his roommate, who was another guy, just to see what would happen. And he gave him too much, and he was in a coma for a couple of weeks because of that. And he really may never totally recover from that. And it's serious stuff, it really is. So, talk about OC spray. A lot of people call it pepper spray, some people call it mace. It's basically what you can buy at Academy or Southern Uniform, some other places online. OC spray is kind of a great equalizer, and I suggest that all the girls who go through my RAD class pick up some and use it. And you can bring it on campus in a purse or pocket. You can bring it on campus. Okay, it's not considered a weapon as far as the no weapons on campus. Okay, now stun gun, that is a weapon, so don't recommend that you carry that on campus. But OC spray, there's no lasting effect, no residual effect. I mean, it's just burns like crazy for a couple hours and then it's done. You're okay. It's like if you've ever peeled or cut up jalapeno peppers and then put your fingers in your eyes after that, you'll know that's kind of what it's like, right? Except more intense than that even. I've carried it for 30 years on my belt as a police officer, and the great thing about it is, you know, it's fairly inexpensive and it's very, very effective. I remember a drug courier that we arrested on I-44 probably 20 years ago now. Huge dude, and he said, "There's no way you're taking me to jail. You know, there aren't enough of you to take me to jail." So by that time, somebody whipped around the corner and sprayed him right in the face with that OC spray, and he was crying for his mom all the way to jail, you know, literally. So it is, it's amazing stuff. One of the also good things about OC spray is that if the person takes it away from you and sprays you with it, right, then you're not going to have any lasting permanent effects from it, right? Because it is very, very temporary. You know, even though after you're sprayed with it, you seem to think it's going to last forever. An hour is a long time when you're hurting like that, but it doesn't, and it goes away. So, how would you deploy or use OC spray? Well, you would carry it in your purse or your pocket, and if you were involved in a confrontation with someone, or even the point where you thought they may be, you get that feeling in your stomach, this doesn't feel just right, right? Then you have your hand on it, if it's in your pocket or your purse, right? And as soon as you need it, you've already got the little cap on the top, your fingers under that, and you've got it ready to go, right? And so somebody walks up and they start to grab you, or they start to do whatever that's going to be hurtful for you. You just bring it out, spray it right in the face. It's like a Z motion, like the mark of Zorro, across the eyes, across the nose, across the lips, in a Z formation. Now, if they're wearing glasses, sunglasses, it's going to be a little more up so that it goes under the sunglasses so that you be sure and get it in their eyes. So I recommend that people, when they get a new can of it, they just take it out in the backyard, upwind, spray it, just a short burst, just to make sure that it does actually function and they know how far it goes. I recommend people shake them often, you know, make sure everything is in there, just continues to be nice and free and fully, you know, with the solvent is in all the particles in there so that it's consistent when it comes out. But that's about it. Every time that we as police officers spray someone with OC spray, we'll take them to the hospital just to make sure that, you know, that there's no, especially if they're complaining about it, that there's no lasting effect, and there never is. It's not nearly as devastating on the body as, like, say, a taser is. Taser is invasive. Those probes go in your body about an inch, and they will lock up your muscles, and it's very, very, they'll hit the ground You know, where they hit the ground, they have a carpet burn or a nice bruise, you know. OC spray's not like that. You know, it's really not. It's a great equalizer, and there's no lasting effect. So, any questions about OC spray at all?
We are going to give them one.
You are?
Yeah, so we're giving
Wow.
each participant here one today, so
Sweet.
I would take it out and let you practice, but
Yeah, but
you might spray on me. So.
one thing about that, you really want to watch doing it inside of a building. I mean, if you have to, obviously you do it. But we used to hose people down in the jail at JPD all the time. Of course, you know how the ventilation system works. It pulls air from certain areas and it pumps it around the building and, you know, adds heat to it. And so they hosed a guy down real good in the jail one time, and the people in the finance office started running out the front door, you know, just one level down from there, because they got in the air, and of course it was filtering through the building, and
Yeah.
it's a great way to clear out a building. It really is, if you use that stuff just right. So.
Can you tell me what RAD stands for?
Oh, RAD, yeah, it stands for Rape Aggression Defense. Yeah. And anytime someone grabs a female and holds onto them and does not let them go, we consider that rape aggression. And that at that point, and not when they've articulated what they're going to do or anything else. At that point, they can go ahead and use all the things I've taught them to do. You know, knee strikes, punches, gouge in the eye, you know, all the different hammer fist things that we taught them, which this gentleman will probably be teaching you guys. And I would go into more of that, but I'm restricted by the policies that they have with RAD. If I'm going to teach any part of the class, I have to teach the whole class in its entirety. So I guess that's my lead in to say take my RAD class in the fall and get the whole picture there. But we're teaching girls not just to stand and spar with somebody. We're teaching girls how to hurt them bad, you know, and then run away. So, any questions about RAD or OC?
Is it like how much credit time is it?
I think it's going to be a 2-hour class. I believe it is. That's what we're talking about at this point.
I thought you said 4 hours, so that's what
Oh, no. No. It'll be an hour on Tuesday and an hour on Thursday. So it's a 2-hour class. Yeah.
Do you know what time?
Yeah, at noon. Noon to 1. So,
Okay. Well, we'll definitely encourage it.
okay.
in our
Sounds
programs.
good.
Thank you,
Anything
sir.
else? You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
Jim, you're up.
Okay, I'm up. I'm Jim Riggs. As was mentioned a while ago, I work in admissions at Crowder College. Working in admissions doesn't particularly qualify me to teach self-defense, but I also have been in Taekwondo for over 30 years. This is Vitaly Barod. He's a student of mine. Vitaly is an international student, and he's from Russia. He also is a black belt with my organization, and he did all of his Taekwondo studies at Crowder College in my class, which meets on Tuesday evenings down there. And we teach that for credit in the physical education department. It's a 1 credit hour class, can be repeated 4 times for credit, and then it can be audited forever, or it can be audited from the get-go. So I tell students who might be interested in doing it, they do need to apply for admission at Crowder College, and they need to enroll in Taekwondo. It's on Tuesday evenings at 6 o'clock, and we're always doing it every semester on Tuesday night during these semesters in the fall, spring, summer. The reason why is so we can have a continuous study of Taekwondo. Now, Taekwondo is a formal art, martial art. It's a Korean-based martial art. And it is not necessarily the same thing as learning self-defense. A lot of times you will go to martial arts schools, whatever the name of that may be, and they will stress that learn self-defense and confidence and all that, but it's not necessarily a self-defense school. Self-defense is a different course. And what I do in my Taekwondo is I teach the formal art of Taekwondo, and then I have self-defense sessions fairly regularly where we do hands-on type of grabs and holds. We do also reaction to one-steps, what we call when people are attacking you, and we do some of the training that would be involved in self-defense, because when we're doing kicks in Taekwondo, typically they're waist high and above. But in self-defense, they're never that high, ever. It would be crazy to try to kick somebody in the head in a true self-defense situation. You keep your kicks below the waist, and your hands can go anywhere. So that's kind of nice. I have some information I'm going to pass out to you, what I call simple rules of self-defense. And whatever I tell you today, I cannot really make you proficient. I can give you some ideas, but it's going to take practice to make you proficient. And we'll go through this, and then I also have a couple of bags here. I have Vitaly to help me with some demonstration. He's a little younger, more flexible, and faster than me now, since I've gotten a little older. But I do want to go through some of the rules here, and hopefully some of what Mr. Kennedy already said will jive with what I have to tell you. The rules, as you look at them, be aware of the people in your surroundings. Criminals often exhibit predatory behavior. So you look, they look for locations that they're not easily observed. They stare at you maybe for prolonged periods of time. If you find that going on, then you need to get a little nervous about that. If you see them more than once and they're looking at you, you may be a little nervous about that. If they pass by you more than once, you may get the feeling this person could be staking you out. Stay with people or go to people. That's a good rule all the time. So you mentioned go to a party, go with 4 of your friends. Make a pact that you're going to leave with those same 4 friends. And nobody's going to leave singly. And you do the same thing if you were walking across campus in the evening, or if you were going downtown, go with a friend. Now, a lot of times you really resent the idea, particularly with your parents, that your parents will tell you, they'll say, where are you going? When are you going to be back? And you go, why do you have to know that? I'm don't you trust me? Right? Well, there are good reasons for that. Where you're going, you need to let somebody know. That may be not your parent. Now you may have a roommate or a friend that would see you later that evening or the next morning. And you're going to say, hey, I'm going to do such and such. I'm going over here, and I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to be home around 10. Or I'm going to be home at midnight. And the reason you do that is so they know that you're missing and where to look for you, where to start. Because if you just went somewhere and didn't tell anybody, it's really hard to figure out where you are and where to start looking. So it just makes good sense. If you are approached by someone, and it is really important for a lady to adopt these self-defense principles, but it's also good for men. And a lot of times we're pretty macho and we think, hey, we take care of ourselves and we're not going to be scared. But if Vitaly, come on over, and if Vitaly were to be having words with me, and I were to think, hey, this is getting, a little bad. Maybe he says something to me like he's gonna attack me. He's gonna hit me, or something to that effect. Maybe he hasn't done it yet, but I need to do something about that. First of all, I don't want him to hit me first. I don't believe in being hit first. I believe in hitting them first. Okay, and there's a basic reason for that. Because once you get hit, you're not likely to win. you've already been damaged, you're not likely to win. So I don't want him to hit me. The way I'm standing right now is to help with that situation. It might be even better if I were gesturing with both hands. Now my hands are up, okay? And I actually am turned slightly, which I would do the same thing. It's not really very different from being in a fighting position, okay? So I'm standing here very non-threatening. He says, what do you say? What do you say? Threaten me.
I'm gonna knock you out.
All right, hey, I don't want any trouble with you. I don't want any trouble. Don't fight. Let's not fight. I don't need to. You don't need to. What do you need?
You won't.
There you go.
Really?
Yeah, go ahead. All right. Thank you for giving me that. And that would be a good demonstration of what have I done when I start talking like that?
Persuasive.
I've made witnesses out of every one of you. Okay? Now, suppose he doesn't let up and he closes on me and I hit him. Who's going to be the aggressor? Is it going to be me? Is it? Or are you going to think it was him? You're going to think it was him. If a lawyer gets a hold of it and says, well, who threw the first punch? You might recall it was me, and that might be bad news for me. But at least I'm not hurt. You know, hopefully. Hopefully it's the other way around. Anyway, create witnesses when you can. Things that you yell to create witnesses. Stop, leave me alone, get away from me, you're hurting me, you're raping me for children. Help. This is not my parent. Okay? Because kids could say, help, help. And you might ignore it because you say, oh, it's their parents. You know, I'm not going to stick my nose in this. Just say, help, this is not my parent. They're not going to say that unless it's true. And that gets attention. Hopefully we'll get somebody to help out. Maybe no one will help you. But in most cases, just like Vitaly, he slowed it down and he decided, you know, maybe it's not a good idea now to attack him. Now, I may not look like I'm brave, but I'm in one piece. Okay? And I don't feel that I have to fight to be a man. So, and by the way, you notice how I gave him my billfold?
Do it away.
Why didn't I just hand it to him? It's a good time to get stabbed or hit, assaulted, if I just hand it to him. And some people might say, well, if I hand it to him, I can hit him at the same time. Is my billfold really worth it? It's not. It's not worth my life. Item 5 is really important. Don't relocate at anyone's request. So, if someone, you always hear the stories about someone being abducted, taken somewhere, tortured, and killed. Okay? They relocated at somebody's request, or they allowed somebody to get into their house while they were alone, that type of thing. Okay? But relocating at someone's request, you can always control that. If someone pulled up alongside you in a car and pointed a gun at you and said, get in the car, you'd think, well, what choice do I have? You have a choice. Run screaming. Maybe you'll get shot. Probably not. He doesn't want to shoot you. He wants you to get into the car. Okay? So, don't do it. Somebody grabs you or threatens you and says, come back into the alley. Don't do it. Fight. Scream. Yell. That's not what they want you to do. They want you to cooperate. Come into the alley with them. So they can do much worse things to you. I would rather be quickly killed with a knife or a gun as tortured to death, wouldn't you? Yeah. And in most cases, that's not going to happen. It might happen. There's no guarantees. Use your strongest weapons against his weakest points. Your strongest weapons are things like your elbows, your knees, sometimes your head, sometimes your teeth, okay? And the weakest points are things like nose, throat, ears, groin, and so on. Knees sometimes, depending on your position. Control his hips and his hands. Okay, if someone happens to overcome you and get you down, particularly ladies, try to keep your elbows and your knees inside his elbows and his knees. And as long as you can continue to fight to stay tight, you're very difficult to assault, okay, and particularly to complete a rape. So you're going to last longer. And keep in mind, you're screaming and carrying on. Hopefully you might get some help, or you may end up injuring the person enough to get away. If you only survive long enough to escape, you want to survive long enough to escape or get help. You really don't want to win a fight. That's not the object. If you have to fight, you fight until you can stop fighting. The goal is not to win. It's to survive. You may want to take a self-defense class. It sounds like the course that Mr. Kennedy outlined would be an excellent one, and I would recommend you take it. And I'm actually going to talk to him about that class and look into offering it at Crowder, because I think it might be an excellent thing. I know it will be an excellent thing. Learn to use legal and common weapons that can be effective. Now your pepper spray would be one of those types of things, and it probably is the best to carry. Probably the best thing. Now there are a lot of ways to carry it. He suggested you keep it in your purse or pocket. And I think it depends on the situation. Obviously, in most social situations, that's where it belongs, out of sight. But in situations where you have whatever weapon you might use, for instance, when I'm walking to my car, I recommend, and I always do, carry my keys in my hand as I'm walking to my car. Now, the reason for that is, one, because I want to get into my car when I get there. So I'll open it and be ready to get in and start it up. The other reason that I do that is because I have something in my hand. Okay? If someone were looking to assault me, they wouldn't be looking for someone that is walking to